Okay, so if you're watching these in order, the previous one we talked about was the Form 1C that you have to fill out if you're working with a qualified scientist. This is another form that goes along with that. Keep in mind, the 1C form needs to be filled out after your research has been completed. The Form 2 is one that must be completed and signed before the start of your experimentation. So all of these things kind of lead off the same way, with your name, your project title. This part is completed by the qualified scientist. So this is the person that you'd be working with at the research institute. So for example, if you're working with a professor, they would fill this part of it out. So you'd have their name, their educational background, their degrees, their experience or teaching as it relates to their position at the institute or university, the institute or university's name, the address, and email or phone number. So the thing for this person to fill out is, have they reviewed the Intel rules? Yes or no? Will any of the following be used? It asks about the things that are really flagged during the form wizard thing. These are the four main areas that the science fair groups are concerned about. So if you're using those things, that's okay. That just means you're going to require extra forms, as we've talked about earlier. Will this study be a subset of a larger study? Oftentimes this is the case. That's okay if the answer to that one is yes. And then will you directly supervise the student? Yes or no. If the answer is no, then who will directly supervise you? Because they're going to act as your designated supervisor. I'm going to scroll back up for a second to one of the other forms. The thing that's important about this is whoever is the designated supervisor, they're the one who fills out the 1C. So there is a chance, scroll back down here, that you're, say, working under a professor at Lehigh. That professor might be very, very busy. They might not actually directly supervise you, which is fine. They might have one of their TAs work with you while they're in the lab. So you cannot be working unassisted or unsupervised at an institution. But that doesn't mean you necessarily have to be working under the person who's filling out this form. So it's okay if the answer to this one is no. You just fill out that person's name and then their experience or their training. So then the qualified scientist fills out this side. They print their name, they sign, they date this one. This has to be before the start of your project, right? And then on this side, we have the designated supervisor. This is if the qualified scientist can't directly supervise you. So this happens like in the scenario that I described above, say like a TA or somebody like that is the one who's observing you. If this person is the same as this one, then you don't need to complete this side. This is completed only when the qualified scientist cannot be the one who's directly supervising you. If this person is directly supervising you, then you're fine because their information, their phone number and email, that's already been included up here at the top part of the form. So if you're working with a research institute, the Form 2 is the one that you need before you start your project. The Form 1C is then completed once your project is finished to sort of figure out which parts of the research you've actually done.